All right, we want to bring in John Sitilides, International Relations Specialist.
Yeah, John, good morning to you. You remember, just a couple of days ago, the Prime Minister there lobbied hard for a no vote on this bailout. It meant to vote against the tax hikes, the spending cuts, the pension cuts, and the like that are now likely part of this austerity plan that he was pushing that Parliament now voted for. I wonder if there has just been a waste of time and energy going through that entire vote if the Greek people are going to get exactly what they voted against.
Victor, essentially, the Greek government had bluffed for the last 5 months, and on July 7th, the European creditors called the bluff. 2 days later, we see that the Greeks have put together a reform package and a proposal for the European creditors that, as you mentioned correctly, is actually more austere and calls for greater fiscal discipline than the very package that was rejected by the Greek voters overwhelmingly just 7 days ago. Going forward, it's going to be a very difficult process for the Eurogroup finance ministers who are going to be meeting today because technically, I think there's considerable skepticism about the ability of the Greek government to actually implement many of these most difficult measures. But politically, there's tremendous pressure, especially from the U.S. and China, on Europe to make sure that there is no Greek exit from the Eurozone.
We know that there are many in Germany who are asking the leader there, Chancellor Angela Merkel, to not give Greece this bailout package, to reject it. I mean, is that likely to happen? And what happened if she does?
If I had to make a prediction, I'd say there's going to be a very, very tough meeting today, 8 or 9 hours of very tense discussions among the Eurozone finance ministers. But in the end, politics will prevail. There's a need to make sure that the European project does not fail and that no country is forcibly ejected from the Eurozone. But I do believe that this is going to be the start of very serious negotiations between the European creditors and Greece that may take weeks. And in the meantime, the Greek economy, which is largely a cashless, semi-barter economy right now, needs a new run of cash on Monday, and that's going to be the critical issue regarding whether or not Greece is able to stay in the Eurozone on Monday or not.
So that's the economic part of the conversation. Briefly, let's talk about politics. We saw the finance minister resign immediately after the no vote. What is the standing of the prime minister now? Because he stood up in front of these crowds and said, vote no, and now he's giving them exactly what he urged them to vote against.
For all we know, last week's referendum may have been simply a social or political venting process. But the fact is that the Greeks have experienced a kind of, again, cashless, semi-barter economy that is unprecedented in modern Greek history. I think the Greek society has been shocked by the events of the last several days, and it's been a very sort of cold splash of water on their faces about what awaits them if there are reckless activities going forward. So right now they realize that the bluff has been called. They've got to accept these measures if there's going to be any hope of Greece surviving within the Eurozone. If the prime minister does things right over the next couple of days, I think he can bring together all the major parties in Greece, have essentially a national unity government of sorts. He is going to have problems within his own party, though, because there are many members of parliament who voted against this proposal. He's not able to have his own coalition implement the reforms if the European creditors approve them over the weekend. So it could be a very dicey road ahead over the next few days in Greece.
Well, those creditors, the Eurozone leaders, are arriving now to begin those meetings today. That's the breaking news at this hour. We'll, of course, continue to watch that and see if there's a decision that comes out during the program this morning. John Sitilides, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.